founders, this country's founders created a flawed social and political structure that only began to take on the appearance of a social democracy through the pain and suffering of the Civil War, Reconstruction, and a Black civil rights movement. These national events were more symbolic than substantive. Okay, so he's talking about the Civil War, Reconstruction, Civil Rights Movement. These national events, let's talk about, I think the most about the Civil Rights Movement. These national events were more symbolic rather than substantive for Blacks. And now the likelihood of ever catching up with a majority white population is extremely remote. So he's saying that it's going to be tough for you to catch up with white people because they control the resources. Blacks suffer too many wealth and resources. What did I say? I just said resources, right? Blacks suffer too many wealth and resource power deficiencies. After nearly 4 centuries of trying to climb a greased pole, many Blacks have given up hope of ever closing the inequality gaps. So one of the biggest challenges that you created for yourself, one of the reasons why you are stuck, you're not just having your children put in physical jail, you're also in economic and social and political jail, right? There's various ways to incarcerate a Black person, whether they're incarcerating you on that crappy job that you don't want to have, or they're incarcerating you at Pelican Bay. But one of the things about this incarceration is that you've been climbing up this grease pole of a society that isn't really built to benefit you, but you bought into that. You bought into the fact that you're doubling down on a losing bet. You're doubling down on a losing bet. You're finding the thing that's harming you the most, and you're doubling down on it. Remember, 100 years ago, you had more land ownership in the Black community than you have right now. Ain't no damn reason, ain't no damn sense behind that. That makes no sense at all. It makes no sense at all that your great grandparents own more land than you, with all the opportunities you have. It makes no sense that they have more businesses than you. So you traded in your land and your businesses for corporate jobs and student loans. Somebody shifted your culture. Somebody snuck in your house and whispered in your ear a big lie. The big lie that said, if you go down the yellow brick road, there's gold at the end of this tunnel. They gave you a big old lie and you doubled down on it. And now many millions of us are sitting there stuck with more debt than you could ever repay in your life. Debt, if in its limitation, in its extreme, debt is slavery. Debt and slavery are no different from one another if you have enough debt. Debt can be good. Debt can create leverage. Debt can elevate you. Elon Musk is going to buy Twitter with debt. So debt is beneficial when it's used in a certain capacity. But in your case, debt without a matching income stream is slavery, because you basically have it's like going to a restaurant and ordering the hors d'oeuvres and the vichyssoise and the prime rib and the lobster and the caviar, and you get a $3,000 bill and you've got $100 in your pocket and you make $200 a week. Like, that's where you are. So at that point, you become a slave to the person who convinced you to be crazy enough to walk up in that restaurant and order all this damn food that was severely overpriced in the first place. You didn't even like the meal, but you ordered the whole meal. Now you got a $3,000 tab. You can't pay it. So that means you got to go in the back and wash dishes, or you're going to jail. So ultimately, you traded in your land and your businesses for corporate jobs and student loans. And you took the student loans because you wanted the corporate job, and you found that the corporate job wasn't paying you enough. You found that the corporate job did not give you the freedom that you deserved to have. You found that the corporate job was toxic as hell, like being in like marrying a really horrible, toxic person, where you're in a toxic relationship filled with microaggressions and disrespect and everything else. And you have no choice to take it because they locked you in. They got you pregnant with debt. They got you financially pregnant. And they said, I got you. Because you let them put the tip in. Now you're financially pregnant and you're trying to take care of this baby all by yourself. And you are stuck in a situation where you don't have a way out. So what I'm simply trying to say to you at the end of the day is that you have to reverse course on this, or you have to question all this. You must really reevaluate every aspect of this whole process, of this whole game. And reevaluating that game means that owning land and owning businesses and making investments and owning assets is far more important than having a corporate job. It's far more important than having a big salary. It's far more important than even that bachelor's degree. It doesn't mean the bachelor's degree is bad. It just means that our kids are going to college. Our kids are going to college because I think college is fun. My wife and I are college professors, but we're not going to pay no damn $300,000 for a bachelor's degree, unless that bachelor's degree is preparing you to go make a surgeon's salary. But even then, I'd say, well, you can make the same money as a surgeon if you learn how to run a really good business. I know business owners with no college degree who make twice as much money as a surgeon. So just understand that the money's out there. You just got to pick up the right skill. So with that said, let me keep reading here. I'm going to keep reading. I'm on page 25 of the book Powernomics. The website is powernomics.com. That's where you can get a copy. These are Dr. Claude Anderson's books. I hope that everybody will support Dr. Anderson because, he's given us so much. And y'all know I talk about him like he's a father because he is. He's like a dad to me. And I love him like my father. And I honor him. I will honor him until the day I die. So let me keep going. Let me keep reading. So here we have, so it says, these national events were more symbolic rather than substantive for blacks. Okay, we said that. Structural racism and its monopolies have boxed and locked black people. What did I just say? They got you pregnant with the debt. They boxed and locked you in. And the system, it has to have a process for that, right? Capitalism in its worst form, racial capitalism especially, has to have a process for boxing and locking people in. The whole Industrial Revolution ran into this crazy problem of like, okay, we got all this opportunity to make money, but how are we going to get people to be crazy enough to sit here and dedicate their whole lives to being in the factory all day, right? We got to get them while they're young. We got to trick them into it. We got to make them think that it's a great thing. We got to shift their culture, right? So this is not something they just did to you because you're black. They just did it. It was easier for them to do to you because you were black, right? So it's like, if you have a person that wants to make money selling, some sort of poisonous food like greasy fried chicken that's going to kill you, they're not necessarily thinking, I only want to sell my greasy poisonous chicken to black people. They're just thinking, well, black people are the ones who eat it the most, so I'm going to sell to them first. But they'll sell it to anybody. So don't be so full of yourself that you think that they do this stuff only to black people. This ain't just about you. This ain't just about your race. This is about the culture. They would sell, if you were purple people, they would still sell you the greasy fried chicken if you were dumb enough to teach your kids to go eat it. Right? If you are an easy target, if you are a mark, as we used to call them mark, if you're a mark, then the predator doesn't care if you're a black mark, a white mark, or a yellow mark. They just know you're a mark. It just happens that black people, because we are hated by society, and black people, because we're still learning how to really value education and thinking the way we really should, we just become the easiest marks. Because number one, we're more likely to fall for the banana in the tailpipe, right? That's the first thing. And then number two, if we fall for the banana in the tailpipe and then we figure it out and we go complain, nobody's going to listen. Nobody hears the pain of a black person, right? If I'm a white woman and I say someone did something to me, then the whole world jumps up and goes to my rescue. But if I'm a black man, it's like, you're, what did Dr. Anderson say that they believe about black people? You're inferior, undeserving of justice, and innately criminal. So an inferior person who is believed to be an undeserving of justice, who is also seen as innately criminal, is not going to have the cavalry coming to their rescue. The white woman is seen as the opposite. She's seen as pure and just and wonderful and sweet and loving. So everybody within a 100-mile radius goes to save that white woman. If you're a black man, something happens to you, they're thinking, you probably did something to deserve it anyway. Even other black people will think that. So let me keep going. Let me keep reading. So it says structural racism and its monopolies have boxed and locked black people, but nothing created or constructed by mankind is perfect, including structural racism and racial monopolies. Myths of a colorblind, race-neutral society support racial monopolies. Public policies or programs that claim to be race-neutral or colorblind will not help black Americans, but support the status quo and prevailing inequalities. The dominant society uses its accumulated advantages to foster and provide even greater advantages for its members. However, with proper planning and preparation, black America can compete and in some instances beat a monopoly. So this is why, this is another reason why I think you should love Dr. Claude Anderson, is because he's a soldier. And a lot of y'all in here are soldiers. And one thing that I know about my soldier friends, shout out to every soldier in this building, I would never disrespect a soldier, is that they understand that crying about a problem is not a strategy. That always being the victim it doesn't make any sense. Your goal is not to always be the victim and always claim the moral high ground that comes with victimhood. Your goal is at some point you want to go from being the victim to the victor. To use the title of Cosby's book 20 years ago, I think that's a good title. How about we go from victims to victors? How about instead of complaining about the same problem that has an easy solution, we actually solve the problem, right? And that's mindset. The mindset of a problem solver is very different from the mindset of a perpetual victim. Malcolm Gladwell gave a speech. I shared a clip of the speech on my Instagram. Malcolm Gladwell, whose mama is black, who's a smart guy, he said something about cultures and communities that tend to have a lot of high achievers. And he talked about why Asian kids are so good at math. He said every year they give all of the kids around the world the same math test so they can compare the kids from China with the kids from Japan, the kids from Japan with the kids from India, the kids from India with the kids from the United States, in the US against Switzerland, all that, right? So they all take the same test, right? And the Asians just blow it out the water. Asian kids, they can do stuff when they're 7 years old that most of our adults can't do. Okay. Unless your child goes to schools like Freedom Home Academy International in Chicago, where those kids are at that level. Those kids are there. Shout out to Marcus Klein. You have to check out Freedom Home Academy International. It is amazing. Anyway, with that being said, one thing that they did was they wanted to try an experiment with the kids. So what they did was they had them fill out this long questionnaire with all these questions, 150 questions about everything that related to preparing for the test. You know, how many hours a day do you study? Do your parents help you? You know, how old are you? How tall are you? How much do you weigh? You know, do you exercise? You know, it's all these questions. And there were so many questions that most of the kids don't even finish the test because it was that long. So what they did was they ranked all the countries based on the percentage of the test that the kids filled out. They were ranking them based on which kids had the longest attention span that could focus on filling out the whole questionnaire. And they said that there was a 90% correlation. That means that there was a direct connection between the percentage of the silly questions that the kids could figure out or that they would answer and how well they did on the math test. So he said, literally, you could predict which countries' kids do math the best and not ask them any math questions because it wasn't about the math. It was about the culture and the choices that the kids make in terms of being committed to solving the damn problem. It was about mindset. It wasn't mathematics. It was mindset. So a kid with a mindset, where mindset comes from your parents, a kid with the right mindset can solve problems. They can succeed at things. They can do things that other kids can't do. It's not innate ability. It ain't just where you were born. It ain't just whether or not you had plenty of money growing up or not. All those things do play a part for sure. But what they were literally saying is like, look, if you give your child the right mindset, then they become a problem solver. The kids in Asia are good at math because they sit there and they focus on solving the damn problem. They don't get scared and walk away. They don't sit there and waste time. They don't get distracted and go do something else, right? Y'all know a lot of our kids, a lot of our people do that. We get distracted as hell. We don't focus. We don't make a plan, right? We're not talking about all of us. I'm not talking about all of us, but you know what I'm talking about. You know that pocket of culture is out there, right? Like this idea that there's this problem that's there. And when people come along and they say, I got a solution, I know how we could fix the problem, ain't nobody listening. Nobody listens when you bring along the solution. But if you say, oh, that same problem we've been talking about since the 1960s, they did it again, y'all. They did it again. They keep doing this stuff every time, y'all. They keep doing it. Oh, thousands of people be right there with you. Right there with you. Everybody wants to join the bitch and complain committee, but nobody wants to join the problem solving committee. How about we join the problem solving committee and learn how to solve a damn problem? These problems are solvable. Dr. Anderson is loved and hated for the exact same reason. He is loved by those of you who appreciate a man with a plan. That's what you love about him. That's one of the things you love, among other things, right? But he's hated also because he is a man with a plan. They don't want black people to have a plan. The only plan they want you to have is the plan for you to sit there and keep getting victimized so that they have talking points for the next election. So get off the whining and complaining committee and please join the planning committee. We got work to do. All right. So here's what Dr. Anderson says, the man with the plan. This is what he says that the oppressed group can do in order to deal with tyranny of the majority monopoly. He says, one, revolt and engage in civil disobedience that brings about political and economic reform or an entirely new government. Two, petition the government to intervene on its behalf and force a white monopoly to divest itself of some of wealth, resources, and power. Three, construct alternative political and economic systems and monopolies based on its own group advantages within its own communities. I like all three. So he says revolt, petition, and construct, RPC. So you can revolt and engage in civil disobedience. So that's the marches, the rallies, getting arrested, stuff like that. So there is value to that, right? So we don't have to talk down on that, right? But that's not the only leg of this chair that you can get onto. He talks about petitioning the government. When I hear him say petition the government to intervene on our behalf, one of the very basic things I think a lot of us can do is simply say, in the next election, I will support you if you do this, this, and this, right? If you don't do this, then I will not give you my support. If you do this, then you will have my support. That's what I see as part of this petition in the government. And of course, you can actually have petitions. You can run people for office. You can do these other things. Go to the city council meetings, things like that. But one basic type of petition could simply be to say, look, I'm not. You need to intervene on our behalf and force the white monopoly to divest some of its wealth, resources, and power. So if you don't share the money, then you're not my friend. If you want to be my friend, then take some of those. I go down to downtown Chicago and I see at least 200 or 300 buildings or more, probably 400, 500 buildings that are worth over $100 million. All those buildings are owned by white people. I want you to give me some of those buildings. If you want to be my friend, pick 10 of them and give them to the black community right now and let us use them for our purposes. That's just one of many examples. Number three, construct. This is what I really love. Construct alternative political and economic systems and monopolies based on our own group advantages within our own communities. I don't think it's just political and economic systems. I think educational systems, any type of system that you need, you can construct that system for yourself. So I am all for it. Our Black Core 3 in the Black Business School, in case you don't know, our 3 core values are: we believe black people can educate our own kids, educate our own kids, create our own jobs, and support black businesses. If we educate our own children, create our own jobs, and support black businesses, then I believe that will go a long way toward developing the kind of power that we deserve. There is nothing more empowering than when you create a system and a process of your own that sustains you, and you don't need to worry about what white people are doing. And I can tell you that is a skill set. That's a skill set. Those are things like leadership skills that we don't teach in school. So if I'm having a son or a daughter right now, and I have kids in my house, but if I had another child, I would spend all my time. When my son says, "Dad, I want to learn how to make money," I'd be like, "Son, learn how to build a system." Systems make money far faster than labor. What the hell is labor? Labor ain't gonna make you no money. Labor's gonna make money for your boss. Labor will give you enough money to survive. Labor, no, the system. The system doesn't get tired. The system doesn't get sick. The system can make money while you sleep. The system can scale. You can't scale. You can only work 40, 50, 60, 70, maybe 80, 90 hours a week. And then your quality of life starts to deteriorate so bad that the money don't matter, because you're going to lose all your money because your health is going to go bad. You're going to spend all your wealth trying to go get your health back. And your relationships will be in the garbage. Your wife be done left you. And you're in the hospital with a heart attack. So you done lost all your money anyway. Your wife took half of it. The doctor took the other half. So you worked your whole life for nothing. You scrub. No, son, I don't want that to happen to you. So I'm going to teach you how to make money with a system, and I'm going to teach you when you're 12, so that when you're 18, 19, 20 years old, you're not running around here talking about how some other man is kicking you in your butt. That does not make you look like a man. You cannot be a man claiming that there is another man who is so superior to you that he outsmarts you every time, he outworks you every time, he controls you every time, he stands up and puts his foot on your neck every time. No, that's, I'm being sexist right now. Maybe, I don't know. This is a gender bias, but I just think for men, if you're gonna be a man, you can't do that. You can't sit around and brag about what another man is doing to you, or explain to your wife and your kids that the reason I can't feed you is because that other man won't let me do it. Yeah, at that point, if I'm your wife, I'm gonna be like, well, why don't I just go stay at his house? Right? That's the reality of life. That's just the truth. Okay, so ultimately, Dr. Anderson, another reason I think we love him is because he reminds us that Black men are exactly that. We are men. We are men. Men must fight. Even in losing battles, men must fight. Men make that sacrifice, and the women fight in their own way. We know that. Nothing happens without the Black woman. We know how powerful and important the women are. God, thank you for all of you. I love every one of you. We appreciate you so much. But I also really would say that in general, one of the challenges that you have when you get underneath the nipple of these political parties is they kind of zap you of all your masculine energy, because it takes masculine energy to really lead and run a kingdom. So they don't want you to have any kings. They need people that are going to fold into a pre-existing system. So I'm saying, where are the kings at? And are we raising kings? My daughter, I told her, I said today, we were talking, and I said, I'm a king, right? She said, yeah. I said, and you're my daughter, right? She said, yeah. I said, so what does that make you? She said, a princess. I said, and don't you ever forget that, ever. Let me keep reading. All right. And so he says here, the suggestions in this book include all three options, but draw most heavily on numbers 2 and 3. So Dr. Anderson is saying that in Powernomics, he focuses mostly on getting the government to give you what you deserve, aka reparations. That's a good start. And 2, constructing alternative systems that are run and controlled by you. He says, so with carefully planned behavioral changes, Blacks can compete and in some instances beat monopolies. The second impediment to the empowerment of Black America is just as prohibitive as the first. So he says the second impediment of Black people is this. So the first impediment was racial monopolies, white people just being white. And if I'm a white man, I'm never going to stop controlling what is mine. Whatever I believe is mine, whatever I believe you can give me, I'm going to come and take it. Right. So the second impediment he mentions, this is another reason why people love him and hate Dr. Anderson, is he brings in this element of power, empowerment. He tells Black people, look, you have some say in this. Your best option is not to sit around and hope that white people decide to suddenly become better human beings, or hope that those in power suddenly decide to share their power. Right? He says, look, you play a part in this. So he talks about what he calls inappropriate behavior patterns. He says the conditions of Black Americans cannot be totally blamed on white society's structural monopolies. The second impediment to empowering Black America is an inappropriate behavior among members of its group. Their inappropriate behavior patterns stem from distorted vision. They are conditioned to be colorblind. They neither see nor want to be Black. Blackness is not just skin color. It is more so an appropriate behavior pattern based upon a rational perspective, a perspective born out of a group's experiences and continuing dilemma. An erroneous perspective causes inappropriate behavior patterns. These behavior patterns de-empower rather than empower Black people. In a society based on white superiority, it is inappropriate behavior when Black people participate in their own subordination and exploitation. It is inappropriate behavior when their actions support the established racial hierarchy and encourage dependency on white society. The more a minority group, especially a planned Black minority, becomes dependent on the majority white society, the harder it is for the group members to differentiate who they are and behave in their own self-interest. Their dependency distorts racial reality and causes many of them to live in a state of denial, tolerating and justifying why they are in an oppressed state. They are generally willing to accept their poor quality of life and avoid any form of competitiveness unless it is against members of their own group. So you'll stand up to a Black man all day, but you're scared to death of that oppressor. I'm gonna tell y'all, this is a personal thing that happened this week. I was we were planning for the convention, and there was this group, this singing group that some of the people in the committee said, we should invite. They're like, oh yeah, we should invite this group. And I said, okay, we'll check with them to make sure that this is something that they want to do. Being at the convention is a privilege. It's not a right. It's not something. I don't care if you're on TV. I don't care if you've been on the radio. I don't care how many Grammys you won. Grammys and Oscars mean nothing to me, right? I need to know, are you B1? Are you okay with Black people putting ourselves first? If you're okay with that and you get it, then by all means, let's talk. So they reached out to this group, and they're kind of Black. They do Black music and everything. And the team member came back and said, yeah, we talked to them, but they kind of felt that our audience just wasn't really a fit for what they do. And I said, we're not. Well, we support the group. We'd be nice to them. We're good people. They do Black music. We're Black people. What's the problem? And I knew what the problem was. I just wanted to kind of go through that exercise with the team. And I said, so you're telling me that they're afraid, basically? And they say, yeah, they're afraid because they're in the music industry and they're worried about how it might look that they're associating with a radical group of Black people. And I said, what's radical about what we do? I said, do we hate anybody? Do I carry like any sort of like kill whitey signs around? Like, have I ever told white people that I want to come and beat them up? Like, what is radical about what we do? Oh, wait a minute. Oh, that's right. We tell Black people to educate themselves. And it's also radical to tell Black people to actually love themselves, right? And to actually, it's a damn crime to tell Black people to go about our business without worrying about what white folks are doing and not following behind white folks. Okay, I get that. We're breaking the law. We're like criminals. We might as well be gangster rappers with AK-47s and a big pound of cocaine in our pocket, right? Like seriously, I really just kind of wanted to process that, and I said, what is really radical about being B1? When I say we put our community first, and I go out of my way to tell y'all we don't hate nobody. I say that just in case there's a white person here and they're trying to figure it out. Like, no, we don't have to hate you to love ourselves. In fact, I ain't got time to hate you. I'm not even thinking about you. Now, you might be offended that I'm not thinking about you because you're used to being the center of attention. That's your problem. You're used to us using all of our energy to pay attention to what you're doing. And now we're just saying we're not doing that no more. We got work to do over here. We got problems to fix. We don't care. We wish you the very best. Right? So this is what was really interesting. And I didn't care. We got a million groups that want to perform at the convention, and that, so it's not a problem. I wasn't offended. But I said, how do we get so programmed that a Black entertainer is afraid to associate with Black people who love Black people? That's nuts to me. That's absolutely crazy to me. So this is what you're dealing with. You're dealing with just a world where the brainwashing runs really deep, and it's okay. I mean, it's life. And one thing I can tell you is that the reason that who's the entertainer, I'm not going to tell you the entertainers because I'm not trying to throw dirt on anybody's name. Right? So I'm not going to do that. This is not that would not be appropriate because I'm not making this into a vendetta. It was a learning point. It was an interesting conversation to have with my team in terms of saying, like, this is why we must protect this sacred space. This is why we've got to sort of figure out what our agenda is going to be and shape it. And then if people want to be a part of it, okay, you got to pass the litmus test. Just like to get into Harvard University, Harvard is protecting the brand of Harvard. Harvard has a standard. They have a brand and a standard, a branded, right? They got the Harvard brand, the Harvard standard, the Harvard culture. They protect all of that. You can't, a lot of us, 98% of us in this room right now could not just walk up into Harvard and become students. Because Harvard's going to say, why are you here? What do you have in your resume that qualifies you to even be in this space, in this sacred space? And I respect that 100%. And I'm telling y'all, pick your Harvard. Become your own Harvard, right? Don't just go chasing. Don't ever make yourself look so desperate that you're chasing validation, especially from people that hate you. You are special. You are good enough right where you stand. There are things that you can do that nobody else can do. There are things about us that make us extraordinary. Everybody's copying off of us. Everybody wants to be like us. We got to own that, accept that. So in case you want to know, like if you think I'm sitting around here, I told you sometimes people will be like, "Oh my God, Dr. Boyce, you're doing all this work, and everybody's seeing you working, and one day you'll be on TV." I'm like, why would I ever want to do that? Why would I? When you might go to Hollywood. And, like, why would I want to go to Hollywood? What? Why? Ugh! You're making me throw up right now. Like, why in the hell? I got something special right here. Like, this is gold and platinum on top of platinum right here, right in this space. So if you qualify, then you can come in this space. But I'm not leaving. I don't walk away from the place where I'm powerful. I'm not walking away from my power. You're very powerful in your own space, in your own community. Tell me this. Seriously, I need you all to process this. Is there any place more wonderful than a place with intelligent Black people who love each other, who want to build with each other, who want to come together, who will fight for each other, who want to build families and build community, build the future, and literally be ahead of the rest of the world? Like, is there any better place than this? This is your Wakanda. Your Wakanda is right here. Like, Wakanda is all around us because we created this shit. Like, we created Wakanda right here. So this is where I'm gonna die. Like, this is Elon Musk wants to go to Mars. He wants to die on Mars. I want to die in our Wakanda. This is our space. Let me keep going. I had to share that. I really believe that. I wake up. That's why I wake up every day a happy man, because I get to be with you. So let me read more. I'm on page 26, and I gotta stop and take a breath because I get a little emotional when I. I'm sorry. I found myself getting choked up. I'm like, why are you getting choked up, Boyce? And so I'm gonna stop. Okay. All right. Let's focus here. Let's get back. All right. So we're gonna read a little more, and then we're gonna shut it down for the night until next week. Okay. So, woo. All right. So categories of inappropriate behavior. This is page 26 of Powernomics. Powernomics.com is where you can get a copy of Dr. Anderson's books. Again, because you're all leaders, if you already have copies, maybe at some point, if you get a little extra money, I would encourage you to support them further. Buy books and just have them in your house and give them out like candy. Give them out like Bibles. Like, pretend like you're a Jehovah's Witness, except you're a Jehovah's Witness for the Black community. Now, if you are a real Jehovah's Witness, I'm not making fun of you, but you know what I mean. Like, they're pretty gangster. Like, they will follow you and make sure that you get the message. They're so good. I went to just a little side note. I was doing a research visit in Germany in 2006, and I was walking, and a white boy walked up, and I don't know if he was a Jehovah's Witness or a Mormon. He was one of the two, and I kid you not. So he comes up to me, he starts talking to me in German, ice, and I could tell what he was doing. He was, he had this little religion, right? And I respect it. And I was like, sorry, I don't speak German. That was my excuse because I had to get to work. I had to get to the office. So I started walking, and then when I said I don't speak German, he starts speaking English. I'm like, damn, he's bilingual. Shit, now I gotta listen to him. So he starts trying to give me his pitch and everything else, right? And then and then I was like, well, hey man, look, I gotta go to work. I can't really, and I don't really live here, so no, I don't want you to come to my house, whatever. So you know what he said? He said, well, where are you from? I said, the United States. He said, well, do you mind sharing your address? And I was like, okay, sure, that's fine, I don't care, because I was thinking they're going to mail me something, right? So I filled out my address. He said, so when do you come home? I said, I'll be home in 6 weeks. Do you know that a Jehovah's Witness, or it might have been a Mormon, so I'm sorry if you're one of those two groups. I don't mean to offend you, but this guy, actually, it's a compliment. It shows persistence. This guy, not that same guy, but another person showed up on my doorstep 6 weeks later when I got home. I was so impressed. So I really think that when it comes to like these things that we believe in, if this is what you believe, I think you should kind of learn from that, right? Like really. In fact, Essence or Ebony Magazine actually said that Powernomics should be the second Bible for Black people, the economic Bible for Black people. So why not share messages like this? And maybe it doesn't have to be Powernomics. Maybe it's just Black economic power, whatever it is. Like, I think we should really share that with anybody that wants to hear it. Because the beauty of Powernomics, and I wrote a few books, but I don't put my books next to Dr. Anderson. I don't compare myself to the OG in that regard on any level. This is the kind of idea where I have seen people exposed to Powernomics for the first time, and they instantly flip. They instantly are like, oh my God, this is what I've been waiting for my whole life. I don't know, anybody else feel that way when you first read any piece of this or first heard Dr. Anderson or first read Black Labor, White Wealth. My first book was Black Labor, White Wealth. I read that on a plane, and I couldn't stop reading. I was freaked out by what I was reading because there was so much information that we didn't get in school and perspectives. And it's like, okay, I'm not the only one. Okay, this makes sense. This is why they would treat me so crazy at work the other day. And the same thing happened when Kanye West was exposed to Powernomics. I know the guy who exposed Kanye to Powernomics. His name is John Boyd. He's the father of Victory Boyd. Victory performed. They run a group called Infinity Song. Victory Boyd and Infinity Song performed at the last convention. They're an extraordinary group. Victory's such a great singer. She sang for Jay-Z. He signed her to Rock Nation on the spot. Victory is a beast. I mean, the family is so talented. You got to look, and her sister's as good of a singer as her. The whole family's talented. They're like, just think about like the Jackson 5. Like, they're that good. So go look them up. They're called Infinity Song. So anyway, John Boyd exposed Kanye to Powernomics ideas. And so next thing you know, I was on the phone with Kanye. And one thing Kanye said was, he said, I don't really read long books. You know, my attention span, I don't like to read entire books. But I could tell that he was really moved by what he saw there, because he said, this feels like a power plan for Black people. And so the next thing you know, he was doing things kind of related to that. The same thing with Ice Cube and all these other, and Charlamagne the God, and all these other people that believe in power now. So what I'm saying here to you is this is my, I'm not even going to say this is like an assignment or an order or a mandate. None of that stuff. I ain't Dr. Fauci. I can only make suggestions and recommendations. My suggestion to you, as the Black leader that you are, is to go out here and lead. Go out here and lead, right? So maybe your gospel could be, look, me and my wife I can show you a stack of copies of Powernomics that I have in the other room. When me and my wife got married, all my guests, I said, I don't want you to give any gifts. Don't give any gifts. You being here is enough. We want to give you a gift. We gave every single person at the wedding a copy of Powernomics, because I'm letting you know what I believe in. I'm letting you know where I stand. I'm letting you know who I am, right? So whatever it is that you are, do that. Do that. And then also on top of that, we're doing the wonderful work of supporting somebody that we believe in. If you don't believe in it, or if it doesn't work for you, then I get that. But seriously, I think we gave away about maybe 50 or 60 copies, because our wedding was during the pandemic and we couldn't have a ton of people there. So maybe there's less than 100 people there. But we gave everybody a copy of Powernomics. I said, yeah, we want to have a Powernomics wedding, because I like power. I kind of like that idea of being a powerful Black family, or being a powerful Black man, or being next to a powerful Black woman. Like, I like that. I don't like victimhood. I don't like being the little skinny weakling. I don't like the 90-pound ugly duckling. I don't like any of that. That's not in any way worthy of who you are as Black people. That's nowhere near what God made you into. That's not what you were in Africa. That's not what you were in ancient Kemet. That's not what you were in Kush. So don't let them reduce you to something tiny, especially when you know that you got the special sauce that everybody wants. So speak your stuff. Carry that proudly. Don't be scared of anything or anybody. Let me keep reading. I'm going to read categories of inappropriate behavior. And by the way, I think some of you were asking stuff about the convention and stuff like that. If you want to learn about the convention or any of our events, the event in May 15th in Chicago, Detroit this weekend, there's the One African Unity Summit in Detroit. There's also the I Am a Man March in Georgia. There's the Essence event July 1st in New Orleans. There is the convention in Charlotte in October, excuse me. And also Atlanta. So all that's on BoyceWatkins.com. So if you just go to BoyceWatkins.com, you can find out a bunch of stuff that we have going on. So feel free to check that out. And we're going to add more stuff in there. All right, so let's read here. Categories of inappropriate behavior. He says there are many types of inappropriate behavior, ranging from the classic Sambo. A Sambo is a Black person who betrays his own race and gains personal profit, to a militant with an attitude of blacker than thou arrogance. Inappropriate behavior is the manifestation of intentional softening of the competitive impulse of an individual or group to the point that everything is turned upside down and backwards. Inappropriate behavior is the manifestation of the intentional softening of the competitive impulse. So softening your competitive impulse, taking away the natural competitive nature that you have as a people, is softening that of in an individual or group to the point that everything is turned upside down and backward. The individual or group is inclined to compete amongst themselves and ally with outsiders rather than allying with members of their own group to compete against outsiders. What is even more troublesome is that inappropriate behavior teaches whites and others how to treat black people. So if you acting ridiculous, then they're gonna treat you like you're ridiculous. If you act like a clown, they're gonna treat you like a clown. If you act like, if you act in a way that is degrading to black women, then they're gonna treat you like a degraded black woman. They're gonna treat you like Cardi B, right? So if black Americans want to change how they are treated, they must change what they are teaching their competitors. Below, we will briefly discuss a few of the most common and destructive categories of inappropriate behavior. Collusion with the competition. This type of behavior is visible in coalition building. It is without a doubt the most troubling for the race because it is a strategy used by so many members of Black America's leadership class. Although coalition building is a popular concept, coalitions almost always operate at the expense of Black Americans. Even though, give me 1 second and let me hit a button. I gotta pop somebody out of the chat. Okay. Hold on. There we go. Sorry, guys. I wanted to take away the distraction. All right. So let me see here. Even though blacks themselves are not organized and do not have stated goals, coalition building encourages them to coalesce with other groups that do have articulated goals rather than to organize their own group. Black participation gives credibility and strength to ethnic, class, gender, disabled, and Spanish-speaking groups, some of whom compete openly with blacks for wealth and power and openly oppose black gains. When blacks participate in coalitions, they allow the unique status, history, and debt owed to blacks to spread to all of the subgroups. So this is when they start talking about your reparations should go to everybody, like everybody, like you should be included, but there's like 80 other people in line ahead of you. Let's see here. Race is made synonymous with minority and racism synonymous with any form of discrimination. These are gigantic distortions of reality and give fictional common ground for building coalitions between blacks and any group that perceives itself as aggrieved. Blacks should not be against any group. But what political or economic benefits do they derive from coalitions with Asians, American Indians, Hispanics, women, or gays that take black problems, convert them into minority problems, then propose non-specific universal solutions? Political coalitions created under the broad, ambiguous concepts of minorities, cultural diversity, and multiculturalism do not benefit black people as a group. In collusion with the competition, coalitions give black Americans a trickle-down experience, a trickle-down political experience, like trickle-down economics. They get what is left after gender, ethnic, religious, disabled, and Spanish language groups in the coalition receive what they want and need. So they get what they want, and you get whatever's left. Black Americans lose by default due to the inappropriate behavior of black leaders who choose cross-group alliances, white approval, and corporate dollars at the expense of their own people. Did you hear that? Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter raised $100 million from corporations that felt guilty. And I've asked you guys before, I ask you again, how many of you, give me a yes or no, how many of y'all saw a nickel of that money go to yourselves or any of your friends? Did anybody know any black-owned business anywhere, or any black person who got any of that money from Black Lives Matter, whose lives were made better economically at all from all the money and all the attention that was raised by Black Lives Matter? None. So ultimately, that to me is a playbook that they keep going to, and it's something that has not changed. All right, so what I'm going to do is, there's more here. We're on page 27 of Powernomics. I'm going to go ahead and shut it down for today, because these are high-powered lectures, and I don't want to try to inundate you with too much at one time. And so we're going to meet again next Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. If you're looking to log into the book club or log into the life class, that's for free. It's a good life class. It's called Black Keys to Greatness. Just go to boycewatkins.com. There should be a link, and you can log in from there. And also, just a reminder real quick, don't forget this weekend, the I'm a Man March is in Georgia. So if you live near Albany by chance, King Randall's doing some really great work. I encourage you to look into that school. It's a school for black boys. He's the leader that we need, one of the leaders that we need in the community. I respect him and I support him immensely. I'm going to go down there. And then also in Detroit, the One Africa Unity Summit is very important because you're talking about our elders that we need to show respect to, from James Small to Leonard Jeffries, to a lot of young leaders like Dr. Ken Harris and Riza Islam and some others. Scheherazade Ali is there. A lot of great people. My wife is one of the speakers too, but she's one of many. So you can also find information about that. Just go to boycewatkins.com, click the events link, and you can find find the events and everything else. Okay. So anyway, guys, that's it. I hope you guys have a good night and God bless you. And I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. So so you know what? I'm gonna tell you this too. I have about 1 million subscribers on different YouTube channels and stuff like that. And one of the things I can tell you is that, that there's different tiers to everything, right? So if I talk about something silly and something stupid or something big or popular, a lot of people will listen to that. But when I talk about the things that are more serious about planning and preparing and building for the future and educating ourselves at a high level and making our children the best, not as many people will come in. A few hundred of you will show up every time. And I want you all to know what you represent. You all represent what I call the talented 10th. You are the talented 10th. It's almost like if you want to build an army, you don't need everybody to be a soldier. You need a few good men and a few good women. Or if you're building a police force, everybody ain't got to be a cop. You just find that percentage of people that are willing to be out in front, that have the ability to be out in front, that can focus and have the discipline to do the job. So you represent the talented 10th, and I want you to see that in yourselves and really own that role as a Black leader. Okay. And I saw somebody ask a question about some of the events. Are they online? I know that the One Africa Unity Summit does have a virtual pass. We will have some other events that are virtual. Right now, the event with Alicia in Chicago, May 15th, that's going to be in person because it's a social event. It's adults only. We're going to get together and talk about love and money and relationships and money and all kinds of stuff like that. And it's really going to be fun, but we're going to learn too because we're scholars, so we're always teaching. So some events will have a different feel, so you can feel free to go check it out. Just go to boycewatkins.com. You can get all the information that you need. The name of the guy in Albany, Felicia, is King Randall. King Randall. You can look him up. He deserves all of your attention and all of your respect and all the support in the world because this 22-year-old kid literally went out in less than a year and raised a couple $100,000 and built this damn school. And I'll be damned, I'm not going to let him fail. He ain't failing on my watch because I'm going to be right there to support him and in any way that I can. All right. So anyway, y'all have a great day. Love you. And I'll see you soon. Take care now. Bye-bye.